Hey guys, welcome back to Day-Today Chess. After a small break yesterday, the World Cup has resumed today with two very interesting games, out of which I've decided to pick the one between Giri and Anish-Svidler. You should know that the other game between Karyakin and Elyanov, actually Elyanov had white, Karyakin black, it was very interesting. Actually, Elyanov had the advantage, and I thought he was going to win, but some little inaccuracies led to him slowly losing his advantage, and instead of converting the position, he only made a draw. So tomorrow is going to be interesting to see whether Karyakin with white will have any chance to win and go to the finals, or they're going to make another draw, or maybe Elyanov is going to win with black. Definitely everything can happen. So anyways, while we're waiting for that to happen tomorrow, let's check out this game between Giri Anish and Anish-Svidler. Okay, so what happened in this game? We have the Re-Lopez. This variation, you know, is theory until a certain point, like a long, really long in this game actually, c3. Let me start talking to you about this position from now on. So basically white plays c3 for two reasons. The main one is to prepare to play d4, and then another reason for white to play c3 is to make sure this bishop has a square to get saved in c2, because of course there's at some point knight a5 trying to win the bishop, and in these positions of course it's good to get the white color bishop, because you know there are always problems on f7. Plus, once you manage to open up this position with d5, black is just going to have the bishop there and a very good position. So that's the c3 part. Now d6, h3. This move is actually not always necessary for white. Sometimes people just play d4 and allow black to play bishop g4, but Giri went for h3 just to make sure there won't be bishop g4. Bishop b7. What's the name of this variation? I hope you guys know. It's the Zaitsev variation. Svidler seems to have been comfortable in this. In fact, he has played many other games in this. It's part of his repertoire. d4, rook e8, knight bd2. Now white's plan is to bring this knight this way, either to g3 or e3. Mostly they bring it in g3. E takes d4. In this position, Svidler tried before against Karyakin in 2014 bishop f8, which is another plan here for white. And the idea is that I'm gonna be playing g6, bishop g7, try to put my bishop on a better square, because as you can see here in e7, it's kind of annoying the rook from, you know, defending e5. When you open the e file, you want the rook to attack e4 pawn. So bishop f8 is definitely a good move to open up your pieces, but in the same time you can't leave the bishop there because it doesn't do much. So g6, bishop g7 is the plan. Well, as I said, he played it before, but for this game he went for takes king in d4. Pawn takes d4, of course. Now white has the center. So what should black do? When white has such a center, two central pawns like this, white should be very careful. Black should get ready to attack the center. So c5 is going to be my plan next. You cannot let your opponent strengthen this center and then start pushing it whenever they want to. So black is getting ready for that. Knight d7. We need to make sure there won't be any e5 coming. Knight f1, white's just following his plan. Knight a5, preparing, of course, attacking the bishop, and at the same time preparing c5. Bishop c2. Now, this is another way of bringing the bishop on that diagonal, just bishop f6. So instead of playing bishop f8, g6, bishop g7, Svidler went for this idea with knight d7, getting the knight ready to control both e5 and c5 squares, and now brought his bishop to f6. And of course he keeps this possibility of playing g6, bishop g7 later on. So don't think that the black's king is not protected. It is quite well protected. And this knight in the worst case can also come to f8. So there's nothing to be worried about king's protection at the moment. Rook b1. This move is good because, you know, white might want to push this b pawn, and you know, you don't want to stay on this pin here. So the rook just, you know, moves for a second just to avoid any attacks on that diagonal once black is gonna play c5. Now another possibility here for white would be bishop f4, and with this move white stops black for some time to play c5 because this d6 pawn would be hanging. So black would have to play first knight f8, and you know, he has to hang on a little bit before playing c5. But of course, you know, this would be just another game. So rook b1, c5. Black is following his plan. d5. What to do? Because if you stay there, well, I want to take. If you take, of course, I take back with the pawn, and you know, I have a nice pawn structure, no weaknesses. I'm okay with black. I equalized. So that's why white is still trying to maintain some advantage. So he plays d5, getting more space and keeping black's pieces restricted. Notice this knight in a5. If you don't bring it soon into play, I'm going to play b3, and you're going to have big troubles with this knight getting it into play from here with this pawn controlling c6. That is the reason why Svidler immediately played knight c4, making sure his knight is going to be safe. b3, knight e5. Black is happy to exchange pieces due to his lack of space. But of course, Giri didn't accept the knight trades. Of course, you don't want to trade and help me take back with the knight and improve my position. Or maybe I don't even need to take with the knight. Maybe I can take also with the pawn and then knight b6, c8, d6, for example. You guys know that the knight is the best blockading piece of a passed pawn. So that's why Giri played knight f3 to h2. Now I'm getting ready to play f4, make your knight go away, and then maybe I come back, you know. This is the idea. When you see that your opponent doesn't have space, you need to play against it. Knight g6. Actually, in this position, there was some other game that was played. Efimenko played c4 in this position, which is another idea for black to gain some advantage, let's say, on the queen side. And after f4, knight to d3 was a possibility. But okay, if you are willing to play this type of position and maybe have this pawn here in d3 that's going to be lost at some point, it's okay, but I wouldn't recommend it, especially in the World Championship match. So Svidler is just quietly playing knight g6, preventing move against any f4. Knight g3. White doesn't hurry to push the pawn to f4 because it allows some bishop d4, activating the bishop. Bishop c8. Now this bishop in b7 wasn't doing much, so we need to improve the position of our pieces. Bishop c8. Now knight b6. Knight g4. This move is a very typical move in the Ruy Lopez variations for white. White is getting ready to attack, so bringing a knight to g4 is always somewhat annoying for black, because I will have, well, of course in this position capturing an f6, but sometimes I just have some sacrifices, or I'm bringing also the other knight to h5, and then I'll be taking an f6 or just sacrificing an f6, check queen sometimes with the queen in d7. So that's why in this position black captured in g4, and actually this is very nice for black, because although that's his good bishop, as you have seen, it was in b7, wasn't doing much, and now here also it doesn't do much. So if I trade it, it's good for me, but in the same time we're opening up the h file, so we need to be very careful against any possible attack that white could start in this position. h6, preventing any type of g5 and, you know, restricting black for a long time. Knight to f5. Now this knight is attacking, maybe has some threat soon for sacrificing, so we want to get rid of it immediately. Knight e7. Trades, like I said, are great for black. white doesn't want to trade. Knight e3. Now black needs to find some attacking things to do on the queen side, because on the king side it's quite clear. White can play g3, king g2, bring the rook, f4, g5, or e5. You know, pieces are coming very fast. You need to start planning on the queen side and open up the position so that you come the other way around. This is a typical thing to do when your opponent is going to attack your king side and you can't really do anything against it to stop it. You have to find your way on the other side of the board. So b4. Now getting ready to prepare a5, a4, open up the a file. g3. I think it was maybe a3 was another possibility to kind of stop black a little bit, because now if you take and I take back, my next move is gonna be queen d3, and basically your play is not very clear here. Okay, a5, a4 is really slow. I think this would have been better for Anish, like queen d3 and then preparing e5, some mates on that side. It was quite interesting. But okay, g3 is also natural. You know, king g2 and bring your rook. a5, king g2, a4. This move I did not like. B takes a4. I think this was a mistake personally, because it helps black with his play on the queen side. Instead of that, I think bishop b2 had to be played to exchange the only defender of black's king for the moment. So okay, if you take in b3, okay, I take back. How are you going to activate your rook? Trade the bishop. Okay, how you can't do anything on a2. You can't in a3. You won't do much. So now, for example, if you think your knight is going to come to defend, I have f4 coming. Preparing e5 or f5. This should be definitely really interesting for white, as black cannot really start any kind of attack or activate his pieces in any way. I think this was a mistake. Queen d7. Okay, you can't take the pawn back yet. Queen d3, getting ready for some mates, but of course knight g6. As I said to you earlier, this knight can come to f8 and just defend the black's king quite nicely. Now another mistake that after which black gets the advantage, knight f5. a3 had to be played here. And after knight e5, just queen e2. We are defending, and then we're going to play f4 and start our attack. Black does get some counterplay here, but you know, it's definitely rook takes or queen takes. This is definitely better play for white in this position, getting ready to play f4. So knight f5. Now knight takes a4. Bishop takes, somewhat forced, because if I play knight c3, I'm going to lose rook, pawn, something. Bishop takes, rook takes a4. Now black got what he wanted. The rook is actually active now. I'm threatening a2, I'm threatening ideas with rook a3. I have this c-pawn that can start pushing. So white is trying to attack, but knight a7, and now g5 is just giving another pawn, and from here on black is just winning. You want to open up the position, but g5 was not the way. Again, I think bishop b2 had to be tried. You have to trade black's defenders before you can start mating. And now takes, g takes, queen e7, bishop takes. Okay, at least I trade some pieces. You also won't have much on the queen side. But after g5, let's see this beautiful finish by Svidler here. Knight e3, rook takes a2. Black is just simply capturing every single piece now. This knight in g6 is a great defender. Knight f5 again, knight e5, g6. Check doesn't do much. They actually repeated the position here. This is typical, just to reach the 40 moves. Now Svidler probably had enough time to calculate it. He captured the knight, and now this queen doesn't do anything because of this great bishop defending h8. So, and now the knight is also defending. So queen h7 is just a check. I just escape. And how many? I have so many pieces up, 2 pawns and a piece, right? So after check, this could have happened, but in fact, in this position after knight g6, Svidler resigned. But this could have happened, but there's really nothing. I just have so many pieces up. I hope you enjoyed this game. Stay tuned for more tomorrow. Bye!